So I just listened to the story of David and Bathsheba, and I'm going to tell you about it. Spoiler alert, it's scandalous. So this story starts in the springtime. Apparently, this is when kings go to war. However, this particular spring, King David did not join his army and stayed behind. So while he's like walking around, he sees this woman and she's stunning, a complete smoke show. You guessed it, Bathsheba. And what are the odds that Bathsheba would be taking a bath when he sees her? So she is like gorgeous. Stops him dead in his tracks. The Bible says Bathsheba was of unusual beauty. She's also completely naked. David decides he has to have her, and so he sends his servants to go fetch her and bring her to the castle. When she gets to the castle, King David turns on some Marvin Gaye, and they get it on. I'm just telling the story. So after King David has his fun, he sends her home. Some time goes by, and she realizes she's pregnant. This is a problem because not only is she pregnant, but she's married. So her husband is this guy named Uriah. And he's actually away fighting King David's war. And he's like a really good soldier. So there's no way it could be his baby. So the king's solution is he's going to bring Uriah home from the war in hopes that he'll sleep with Bathsheba. And then he'll just think it's his baby. However, when Uriah comes home, he goes to the castle and he refuses to go home to see his wife. He's basically like, I still have men out on the battlefield, so I don't feel right about sleeping with my wife and the comforts of my home when they're still fighting. Like I told you, he's like a really good guy. So that didn't work. So the next night, King David's like, okay, I'm going to get this guy drunk. And then he's definitely going to go home and sleep with his really hot wife. That didn't work either. He slept at the palace doors with the guards. So at this point, King David's solution is to send Uriah to the front lines so he will be killed. And that's exactly what happens. So news gets back to Bathsheba that her husband has been killed. And after a period of mourning, she moves into the castle with King David and he takes her as his wife. And they have a son. Now the Bible says God is not pleased with King David for what he's done. So God sends this prophet named Nathan to King David. So this prophet tells David a little story. And it's basically like, hey, so there was this rich man and he had a bunch of animals. And then there was this poor man and he only had one little lamb. And he loved this lamb and he took care of this lamb and he fed this lamb. And this lamb was basically like his world. The rich guy has guests over, and instead of killing something from his own flock and serving it to his guest, he takes the little lamb from the poor man, kills it, and serves it to his guest. Now, after hearing this story, David's furious. He's like, that is terrible. Who would do such a thing? And Nathan's like, you. You took Uriah's lamb. You took Bathsheba. And because you did these things, your child is going to die. The child you and Bathsheba had. This makes David sick. And the Bible says the child fell ill. David fasted and laid on the ground for 7 days while his child was sick. And eventually the child passed away. So immediately after the child passes, the Bible says David got up, he dusted himself off, and he went to the tabernacle to worship. Knowing there was nothing else he could do. He said he mourned while the child was sick, thinking God may take pity on him. But basically what's done is done. Now God did forgive David and he blessed Bathsheba and David with another son. And this son was to be named Solomon. You might have heard of him, but that's a whole nother story.